Back to our Sasquatch, our Bigfoot, our Janu people. I keep hearing on various channels, oh, if they come and live in my forest, there's going to be no deer, there's going to be no food, everything is going to disappear, and it takes a lot of wildlife to sustain something that big, and families that big. Really? I would say step back and look at something a bit bigger and see how that sustains itself. Now, don't get me wrong, these guys do eat meat, and I think that they mark certain periods of time. They don't have a diary or a calendar, they don't check their watch. Their movement is governed by the phases of the moon and where the stars are, so they know what time of year. They can tell by temperature as well, but they know what time of year it is, know what time of day it is, what phase of the moon it is. So they mark off their yearly periods, if you like, via the phases of the moon. So something may be 2 full moons away. And I think that that is how they are able to tell time and passage of time. Now, during that period of time, they will want to have a feast, and the feast may involve killing a deer or a moose or whatever they happen, a little baby bear, whatever they happen to choose to have. And that's when I think they eat their meat. They may get the odd little rabbit, they may get the odd little fish, but most of the time, I believe they graze, and I think they are constant grazers. You see this with Aboriginal peoples within Malaysia, Borneo, Africa, central belt of Africa, shall we say, plenty of food there, and in South America within the Amazonian Aboriginal tribes and the Aboriginals of Australia. The constant grazers, they know what they can eat, they know what's good for them, and they know what they can take. So they take berries, soft fruits, whatever is available, that's what they'll have. And this is why I believe they move around from period to period. So they'll be in your area for 6 months, then they'll shove off and disappear for 6 months because they're going somewhere where there's a more sustainable food source. And I put a direct comparison with this. Take an elephant. Elephants are rather large, bigger than a Bigfoot. They are not carnivores. They're herbivores. They eat vegetation. They don't eat meat. They're very destructive to trees, but they mainly eat leaves. And they'll pinch a banana from the tree. Soft fruits, but they constantly graze. And yet they can survive without eating meat. Take a moose, big creature. It survives without eating meat. Take a bison. They're pretty big. And they graze all the time. They don't eat meat. They don't go around killing a bear because it fancies a good steak. But they eat small stuff, and often all the time, and it sustains them. And I think it's the same. If you know what to eat, know what products what to eat, and where to get your food sources from, I think this is why I think people often come across Bigfoot sort of not sleeping, but appearing to be sitting doing nothing for long periods of time. They're conserving energy. They don't need to be on the move all the time. They are protected by the way they read energy. So if you like, they have their own sonar and radar going all the time, so they can tell exactly what's going on around them without even having to get up. I think that's the thing that they do have to actually, if you like, switch on, or you must have your alert head on, as it were. But there we go. So when we hear people saying, oh, it takes a lot of meat to sustain a family of 12, it actually doesn't. It doesn't at all. If you are kind enough to go out and leave some goodies for them, it's an amazing rapport that, we can have. Okay, I want to take a closer look at these images. I posted them in the last video, but I think there's something of interest to see. There were quite a few images, and we all have really large TVs, huge screens. And if you look at each individual image, you may see many little things within it. But if you were to step right back and look more closely at each image, and I'll make them much smaller and see what you see. Now, right within the middle, and I'll highlight it for you on each video, there is one, sometimes two faces, but they almost fill the screen. They almost fill each image. And it's worth checking these out. So I'll go through each individual photograph again, and I'll try and point out what I think is happening. So we'll take the first photograph. Just caught sight of it, and I just thought, what is this? What are we seeing here? And so I zoomed in, and this is what I came up with. So this is image number 1. So if you look, you can see a shaft of light coming from the right. Within that light, if you look, you can see quite a lot of faces, and I've highlighted where the images are. There you are. You can see them quite clearly within the square boxes, but there are others. There are others on there. So the interesting thing is that you've got a shaft of light coming from the right, top right, at a right angle down, almost in a V, and then look off to the left, there's a shaft of light coming from the left. Interesting placement. So all of these images within here, like I say, there's quite a lot to see, but when I put it into a much smaller image, you'll see it a lot clearer. Now I'm going to reduce the size of that now so that you can see how big it is. And within that, if you look at the face, there's a huge face right within the center of that. I will highlight it for you. That is quite remarkable. So with a big TV screen, you lose everything. It's not seeing the wood for the trees. But when you reduce the size of the image, things become clearer in a completely different perspective. Right, let's move on to the second image. And again, I've highlighted the boxes where these faces appear. There are more. The light has changed a little. We've still got the shaft coming from the right, but the one from the left is bent, and it's just a short fathom of light. But when you start looking into the detail of that, is that a person standing in the bottom left-hand side? It looks I mean, don't ask me to explain it. I have no idea. So I'm now going to reduce this image and make it really small. And I want you to have a look very, very closely. Can you see the face right in the center? Have a good look. Okay. Now I'm going to move on to the third image. And the facial stuff is quite weird. If I go up to the top right hand corner, it's just like this top hand. It's the Abraham Lincoln face that we keep seeing in the top right hand square. In the middle, the bottom one of the middle, there's two, one on top of each other. But they are, and there's one big central one in the middle which is quite faint. It's really, really faint. And then above that, that's an odd facial energy. Not like anything I know, that's all I can say. So then look at the shaft of light to the right, coming from the top right hand corner down. Then look on the other side at the shaft of light on the left and look at the imagery within the light. It's just peculiar, it's bizarre. There's all sorts of shapes and facial energies and things. So I'm now going to reduce the size of that and make that very small and see if you can see a facial energy right within the middle of that. Have a look, see what you can see. What do you think? So we'll now go on to the fourth. The shafts of light are really, really clear. I'm also going to point out something else on this. Now, right in the centre, the very, very centre of the picture, you can see a large eye. Often I pick up just a single eye or in various places. It's very strange. Look to the right-hand side of the screen, and it's the box on the right-hand side. Now just come in a little bit from that, and there is a dark area. Almost looks like a doorway in that tree. We'll keep an eye on that because as we go through these photographs, that's going to become more and more like a doorway. And you can see the facial energy, and the one in the centre clearly has a large eye, but then there's the one at the top, in the middle, on the higher up the screen, that face, its eyes are closed. That's the one to the left of us. It's not a face, but there's some weird energy around that light beam. Very, very strange. So let me reduce that in size and let you have a really good look. Tell me what you think of it. Do you see any large imagery right in the middle of that? Is there a large face in the middle? So we'll go on to the next picture. Number 5. Now you can see on the bottom right, if you look in the square just above the number 5, if you look in that square there, the facial imagery, have a good look at the facial imagery in there and what looks like a doorway to the left. Very odd, very odd. It's like looking into, I don't know, it's like looking into a camera from yesteryear. Then if you look at the other faces, they're quite bizarre. They're very warped, almost distorted in imagery. And then again, right in the centre, you can see that large eye. Really large eye. That's quite unusual. The light forms on the left-hand side of the screen are strange as well. So I'm going to reduce this and let you have a look, see what you think. Can you see in there any large face in the centre? It fills up almost all of the screen. So we'll go on to the next one, number 6. So we'll start at the left-hand side of the screen. What is that facial image there? right in the middle of the box at the top left. It looks like something with a beard or long hair. Very strange, bizarre. In the centre, very, very faintly, right in the centre, there is a smaller face. Then higher up in the middle, there's a selection of faces there. It's bizarre. It's like three, I can almost see in a sort of semicircle. And then bottom right, back to where this doorway is, there's some images there, facial images, just to the right of where this doorway is. It's peculiar. Let me reduce it and see if you can see a large face in the middle there. Some of you may see it, some of you may not. And I'm making them quite small, so they might be very difficult to see on a phone if you're looking on a cell phone. But if you're looking on these TVs, I mean, we have TVs that you can drive along a road and not miss an episode of whatever you want to watch because the screen's so big. But in a house, when you're up close, they drown out the image. And so this is why I'm reducing the size of them, so that they're a little bit easier to see. So I'm going to go on to the next one, which is number 7, slightly darker, but there's a peculiar light form on the right-hand side. In the box on the right, there is a face in there, but the light form is odd. It's very odd. It's like there are 3 or 4 faces layered one over the other. And then we've got the 2 faces stacked one on top of the other in the box to the left. Then swing right across to the left of the screen, just unusual energy in both of those boxes. Very, very strange energy. Don't know what they are. So I'm going to reduce that in size right down now. See if you see anything in there. All over that picture, there's lots of fantastic energy. It's made up, it's a mosaic made up of faces but within it, there's this massive face right at the front. So we will go on to image number 8. See how the light is changing in this, the shaft of light, just the sunlight moving across. And we've got this sort of rainbow effect on the right, circular rainbow effect, don't know what that is, it almost looks like infinity. And then in the boxes, got strange facial energy. The one at the bottom in the centre, very odd. Very odd. And then if you move across to the box on the left, it's really, really faint. Very faint, but there is somebody almost looking from behind a tree, peeping at us. So if I reduce this in size and have a look and see what you think. See if you can see any imagery in there. So we're on to image number 11. Bottom in the centre, that is a bizarre face, isn't it? It's just bizarre. There's more than one face looking at us. Quite bizarre. Then above it, again, 2 faces, one superimposed on the other. The one on the left appears to be wearing what looks like a crown. I find that kind of stuff really odd. So then we'll go to the box that's the bottom right-hand corner of that box is in the light beam. There's a big facial image in there, fills the box. And then back to the bottom right, and in that box you can see facial imagery in there. But again, if you look below that box, just below it, there looks to be something which almost looks mechanical. Can you see it? It's like a row of 4 square things, horizontal. Don't know what they are, but they frequently appear in these videos. No idea what they are. But if you take the bottom left-hand corner of that box on the far right, it actually starts off and there's a head beside it, a face. Isn't it bizarre? Let me reduce that in size for you and see what you think. Isn't that remarkable? So we'll just go on to the last one. Top left-hand box, there's a face that almost fills that. Again, the light beams have changed, completely changed. Box at the centre, bottom centre, just peculiar, bizarre energy in that. The box above it, again, bizarre energy in there. There's a face at the top left-hand corner of that box. And then across to the right, what I said was a doorway has changed completely. Completely looks different. So I'm going to reduce that in size and let you have a look and see what you think of that now. So what I will do with this is I'll now go and show you what the whole imagery looks like. And I did it briefly last week, but what I want to show you is what the whole image looks like with all of those photos put together. And in the centre, slightly to the right, but in the centre of each image, there is facial energy. There is a large facial energy. It looks like a large face. What I will do is I am going to reduce that even more for you in size. I'll do that now. See if you can see it. I'll try and highlight where the face is. The face seems to change. It's not the same face. It morphs from one thing to another. But what is really interesting about it, it's looking straight at the camera. It's looking straight at me. I'm behind the camera and it's looking straight at me. It's not looking across the room. It's not looking into the tops of the trees. It's not looking behind it. It's looking directly at the camera, like it's sitting there posing for the camera. And that's bizarre. So that's all I have for you. We shall see you in the next video. Thank you.